For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. We are still live at the Inner Jam down by the river. It is going on 10 p.m. Oh, it's way past 10 p.m. Not going on 10 p.m. anymore. I've lost complete track of time. But we got Jason Custer with us. How's it going today, man?
That's going good.
Good. I'm excited to sit down and chat with you. Like you'd mentioned, you'd been following us on socials and all that fun stuff, and I've seen you around the way and whatnot, and just glad to start getting meet faces with names and meet people and all that fun stuff. So.
Exactly. I don't even know how we've gone this long without actually meeting, because I know we've been like in the same place at the same time.
Yep.
But
it's one of those. I did just get here today. It's been one of those things where yesterday it was like, how soon can I get out the door, and then as soon as I find out it's like 6 o'clock, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going running around New Braunfels at 9 o'clock at night to try and figure out where the heck this place is at. So,
right. I mean, are you staying the night here?
Yeah, I'm staying the night here.
Okay,
yeah.
there you go.
I got the car. I'm gonna go pull it into one of those parking spots out back and just pass out in the back seat.
Hey, you're tougher than I am.
Hey, it's better than trying to sleep in a tent. Like, I got a tent in the car. Like, I could put that out if I really wanted to, but it's going to destroy my back. Right.
I've got an 8-man tent that I brought with me, and like 3 air mattresses, and one of those electric air pumps. So it's like,
well, because that was originally what I was going to do. Was I found because it's been a good minute since I've actually been like legit camping, and so I was like, well, it's probably something that I want to start doing or should start doing. So I was looking on Amazon. I found like a little self pop-up tent. So basically you just throw it out and it pops itself up, and it's a 4-person tent. Then I found like a little cot thing that folds up like a little foldable chair, and then a sleeping bag. And I'm like, cool, for $100, I'm good for a good minute. And then I'm like, do I really want to? Because at this time it's like, I'm only going to use it for 2 nights, 3 nights tops.
right.
Do I really want to spend $100 for something I'm going to use 3 times, maybe?
Hey, I got lucky. I'm sleeping in one of our sponsor provided RV, so I'm lucky.
That's what's up. So for anybody that's getting to meet you for the first time, kind of give everybody a little bit about yourself, what you're about, what got you into music, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. What got me into music was just watching. I had 2 uncles that played, and just watching them growing up, and then that's what got my interest into it. And then I had some friends in high school that played, and they had a couple of extra guitars, and we'd sit around and play. Me and another friend of mine, and he, the friend of mine and I, we both started playing on the same day. And he went the heavy metal route, and I went the singer-songwriter country guy route, and we couldn't be more different in our musical stylings, but we'll still get together from time to time. And I'm like, hey man, check out this new song I wrote, and then he'll start like throwing Van Halen licks over what I'm doing, and sorry, Derek Kaufman is from Alabama.
Yeah. he's already asked me when I'm coming to Muscle Shoals. So,
but and then I just I got to learn. Having young friends in school I was learning how to play from, but also having the uncles that I guess that got me interested in the old country stuff. I had kind of a interest in all varieties of music.
Now, are you born and raised Texas? Or
yeah,
okay.
I was born in Irving and grew up in Hamilton.
Okay.
Hamilton County. Went to school in Hyco, and
I drive through Heiko all the time.
Oh yeah, I love Heiko.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could retire or if I could move to Heiko now and make a living in Heiko, it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
Pretty much you have to be a farmer or a welder or a mechanic, and I can't weld to save my life. And they have enough mechanics there, so.
Probably, yeah. I drive out to New Mexico all the time, so I drive right through Heiko. But on that drive, there's this town called Tahoka. That, like, it's a little town that you drive right through. You probably wouldn't even notice it if it was nighttime out that you actually drove through a town. But it's one of those towns, like, you sit there and it's like, it's got all these buildings that don't have anything in them. They don't, they're abandoned, whatever. And it's like, I could really do something here. It's like in between Lubbock and it's like just outside of Lubbock, maybe about an hour outside of Lubbock.
Huh.
Just like, I don't know. I drive through these little towns and it's like, there's a lot of potential out here.
And then you realize how far away, though, that town is from civilization. And you're like,
well, I mean, I lived in Roswell, New Mexico for 4 years, where it's like 3 hours to get anywhere. So
yeah, I spent a year in Roswell 1 week.
Oh well. Yeah. So you pretty much been playing around the Texas scene, playing music around the Texas scene. How'd you get hooked up or introduced to Dustin?
Dustin and I met. We probably met at another festival that we were playing in Evant or Gatesville, depending on what year it was we met. It's a blur. It's a blur. I got out of the Army at Fort Hood in 2012 and ended up living, in 2014, and ended up living in Lampasas. And I had a friend that I've known since high school named Clint Janish, a singer-songwriter, very, very talented guy. Unfortunately, not here. And he had put together this music festival and started calling it, I think it was the second or third year that he did it, he started calling it the Stash Bash mustache. He had one of those curly Q waxed mustaches, and so he thought, well, hey, we'll do something like a mustache and facial hair or competition or whatever. It was just an excuse to have a music festival, and I think that's probably where I met Dustin. Otherwise, I probably met him at a open mic or something. Either way, he and I just became friends, and when this came about. The first year in 2020, after Larry Joe Taylor Music Festival got rescheduled. I'm sure you're aware of that story, how it got rescheduled to October and then got canceled altogether.
A lot of things ran that course of action.
Yeah. Well, Dustin had the brainchild of, we should throw our own.
Yeah.
And in 6 weeks, he put the first in a jam down by the river together, and I was one of the first people they called to ask if my band would be interested in playing.
Nice.
And we did it this year, or that year. We did it last year, and then I sold my place in Lampasas, moved to Fort Worth. My band broke up because I wasn't going to do a 6-hour round trip to rehearse once a week. And so this year I'm here flying solo and then playing bass guitar for
filling in
Derek Kaufman.
Nice. So as far as your music goes, like, what do you have out there for people to listen? Do you have stuff?
Yeah, we when I did have my band back in 2019, we released an album called Drink This Beer as the Jason Custer Band. Yeah. I'll probably still release music as the Jason Custer Band just so that I don't have like multiple things on Spotify. It's like, okay, yeah, we had. Anyway, and then and so the album was called Drink This Beer. The band was Jason, the Jason Custer Band. Yeah. So, but I did change my social media at this point because I didn't want that kind of confusion. Yeah. And then last year, before we broke up, we released a single called "Intoxicated" about my overindulgence one particular night. There's been many, but my overindulgence in Lone Star beer, and and shot a video and released it on just basically on YouTube, and had a fun time recording that or shooting the video and doing it live at a show one night. And
Tonight was the first night I actually had a Lone Star beer.
Are you serious?
Because so my defense, for me, new beer, I'm not going to go out and just buy new beer in the offshoot that I don't like it. It's like, oh, then I'm stuck with a 12-pack, 6, like whatever, and it's just going to sit there. And then there was a situation where I could have gotten like a 6-pack. I was like, man, that just seems like a very cliche thing for somebody in Texas to do.
Okay, I fully understand that. But over the years, you've never met somebody with an ice chest full of Lone Star and be like, you know what? Can I try one of those?
I mean, I've only been in Texas 3 years, so.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, I've only been in Texas 3 years.
We're going to have to turn this podcast around and do another 15 minutes where I ask you questions, I guess.
Fair enough. No, it's so I saw they had them over here in the cooler, and I was like, you know what? When in Rome, that sort of thing, and I had one. It's good. Like, I couldn't drink it like heavily. Like, I couldn't just sit there and just pound them back to back.
Right. Which is actually maybe a good thing, because then you don't over drink.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, they kind of go down like a fat kid on a seesaw. But I've been drinking Lone Star.
It's one of those things where I then made the mistake of I had 2 Lone Stars, and then I followed it up with a Bud Light, and that Bud Light went down like water.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I gotta stop. I'm gonna call it, because this is gonna get bad.
The bad thing is I like Shiner a lot.
Yeah.
And for one, Shiner's expensive.
Yeah.
And so if I were to drink Shiner like I drink Lone Star, for one, it'd probably kill my liver faster than the Lone Star is. 2, it definitely drained my bank account faster than the Lone Star does. So I just,
Have you ever had a Yingling?
Yes. So when I was in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Drum, New York. And Yingling
it's in Pennsylvania.
It's a somewhere. New York, or a New England.
Yeah.
So it's quietly finally made its way to Texas, but that's where my introduction was in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. And that was the one thing I appreciated about New England.
Yeah. Yingling is really good. That's the one like dark beer that I can just like drink and not get super messed up off of. I can just sit there and drink it.
Have you tried the Yingling Flight?
No.
So it's kind of like if anybody out there does the Michelob Ultra. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's kind of their light version, but it's got
to be better than the actual Yingling Light that they had. Like that Yingling, they had like a Yingling Light that tasted like moose piss. It was just like, this is like watered down hops, and there's no taste to it. There's no.
Well, to me that's Coors Light.
I love Coors Light though.
Coors Light is like tinted water. That's to me. My dad drank Coors Light my whole life, and when kids would go and like, okay, I'm gonna go steal some of my dad's beer and drink a few with my buddies or whatever. I was forced to steal Coors Light. It was like, I might as well just go steal water.
Yeah. For me, it was Miller Lite. I grew up in Chicago. Miller Lite was everything.
My mom was a Miller Lite drinker.
And I had it just recently. Miller Lite's not, like, I always remember not liking Miller Lite. Mm-hmm. And then I had it recently, and I was like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. Like, I don't know why I thought it was bad, but anyways, the beer podcast.
But it wasn't old style?
No.
In Chicago?
No. I mean, there are people that drink old style.
Yeah.
But
I figure old style is like Lone Star in Texas. Yeah. That's for the hardcore drinkers or something.
You can get old style, but you got to go to like a baseball game. Like baseball games where people drink old style.
I got you. Okay.
At least from my experiences.
Gotcha.
But, so how'd your set go today over at Interchange?
Oh, it went. Oh Lord.
You know what that is, right?
I know it's some form of whiskey. Salute. Can I drink on a podcast?
Go for it.
We'll wait till.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know how that's going to hit.
I was gonna say you don't have to go very far to get to your camper. So.
Oh no, and I'm not driving anywhere.
Yeah.
What was the question?
We were talking.
So my acoustic set was it was great. We have Matt Smith, the fine young man that just brought me a shot.
An actual shot, by the way.
An actual shot too. He actually looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He was running a little sound for me, and then the video for Intoxicated that we shot, he was actually there the night that we shot that video and played harmonica on the video.
Nice.
It wasn't him on the studio cut,
But in the performance.
but he did it on the video, and he played with me today. But he also ran sound for me today, so it made me sound good.
Nice.
But everything went great, which is a shock to me because last night was pretty much a rough night.
Yeah.
I finally got to my RV at about 6 o'clock this morning.
I was gonna say I heard there was a lot of seasoned people. I'm gonna be careful how I word that. Seasoned people.
There were some seasoned people, and there were some pickled livers this morning.
Yes. And I heard there may or may not have been psychedelics that have been passed around.
I can neither confirm nor deny any knowledge of any illegal substances.
Fair enough.
I know nothing.
You know nothing.
Yeah.
You've seen nothing. All you've got is this whiskey.
That's right. And I'm over the age of 21, so this whiskey is perfectly fine.
Fair enough. So after tonight, what do you got going on music-wise? Are you playing more shows, or what do you got going on music-wise?
For this weekend, I'm here till Sunday, going back to Fort Worth. I play bass guitar for a couple of other bands up in North Texas. Monty Dawson Band. He happens to be the vice president of the Texas Country Music Association. Okay. And then I also play bass guitar for the James Eddy Band, and so I'm doing a little shameless plugging down here.
It's all good.
I know people listen to this; they can't see it. And then there's various other bands that I fill in for. A couple of cover bands. They pay good, so yeah.
And you're a full-time musician at this point?
At this point, I am trying to be. I also do guitar repair and stuff, but since I moved up to Fort Worth, I really don't have a shop, so
Will you build guitars too, or just?
No, I'm not really set. If somebody had wanted to order the parts, I could build it, but I don't have a lathe and stuff like that. I don't have routers.
Because I've always had this idea of doing a documentary, just kind of telling the story of the importance of that connection between the person that makes the guitar, and the musician. Just
That's actually so funny you say that, though. So when I lived in Lampasas, I had 10 acres, and we had this Spanish oak tree in my front yard that was dead or dying, and Matt actually came to cut it down. And when he cut it down, there was a little mishap, and something had happened, and somehow one of the limbs, the big limbs, had pinched the bar of his chainsaw, bent it, and put his chainsaw out of commission, so he didn't get to finish the job. And so I had just the trunk, and he left it and cleaned up all of his stuff, and we did what we could do, but I still had the base of the tree, and it was big enough that I was like, I could cut that the rest of the way down, and get this guy that I know over in Gatesville that had a portable sawmill to come over and cut slabs out of that. And if the wood was good enough, I wanted to make my own guitar. And I knew a guy, he's a cop in Lampasas, and have him. So it's funny that you said that, because he had all the routers and stuff that I could have built my own guitar.
That's what's.
So I wish now, dang, that would have been a great idea.
It's one of those things where during the pandemic, I got really heavy into watching people make obscure guitars. So there was a video where there's a video of a guy playing a shovel guitar. So he made a guitar out of a shovel. I'm sure you've seen it.
Well,
there's a few of them where guitar players are their guitars made out of like old skateboards, like broken in half skateboards and stuff like that. That stuff's just really cool to me.
In New Orleans every year they have the Cigar Box Guitar Festival. Samantha Fish, probably one of, at least in my mind, she's the only person I can think of by name that she can wail on a 3-string cigar box guitar with slide.
Yeah. There was this kid, and I was living in Tallahassee, Florida, and it wasn't a cigar box, it was a gas can. It was like an old school gas can, but it was 2 strings, and he played it with a slide, and the noises he got out of this thing, it was just like, wait, what? Come again? One more time? So, that's wild.
I don't have that kind of creativity with sounds like that. Like I can take words that rhyme, and sometimes I can take words that don't rhyme and still use them, and then somebody's going to point out for the rest of my life when I sing it, and they're like, that doesn't rhyme. Yeah. So what? You know, haikus don't rhyme either.
Yep. I get it. But it's been a blast chatting with you. Love to have you back on, and you know, once you get ready to release some music, as whether it's Jason Custer Band or just, you know,
absolutely,
you know, however you end up working it. You know, it's funny because I've seen a lot of musicians kind of move to that format where it's insert name band, because it's hard to keep bands together. The band that I had, the reason we chose the Jason Custer Band is because of that. It was like the lineup kept changing. At one time we were Remington Road, and then we were the Jason Custer and the Outsiders. Well, then there's already numerous bands and the Outsiders, and it was like Jake Hooker and the Outsiders. I mean, and then the band we all kind of took a hiatus, and then came back together with a new drummer and bass player, and then the old bass player came back into the band as the lead guitar player, and we're like, you know what? Screw it.
We're going to call it the Jason Custer Band because it makes sense. Yeah. I didn't want to be Jason Custer. Yeah. Because we were a band. Yeah. Everybody was equal members. If I wrote a new song and I was like, okay, this is the song, the lyrics aren't going to change. Yeah. But if y'all have an idea for the direction of the music or a tempo or something that if you don't like what I did with it, let's talk, let's rehearse it, let's see what works. And so everybody had an equal say, and it was like democracy and all that, and
band democracy works.
Yeah, and ours did, and we were all Army veterans. Yeah, and so that was another kind of, and we never used that as like, hey, we're Army veterans, give us a show, or whatever. But we used that in our advantage as far as everybody had a job when we'd go to a show and set up our own sound system, and we could hit the parking lot of a venue. Yeah. And from the time we parked the truck and had sound check done, we could have it done in an hour. Nice. And then same thing at the end of the night. We could play the last note of a song, and as long as we could get the owner to pay us in a timely manner, the fastest we ever did it, we played the last song and pulled out of the driveway in 30 minutes. Wow. Because we all had a job. Yeah.
Now, were you all based out of Fort Hood, or?
Trying to think here. Our old bass player, or our bass player, was not stationed at Fort Hood, but he was from Abilene. Okay. And then our drummer was from North Carolina, and had been stationed everywhere, but he had been stationed at Fort Hood. Okay. I was from Central Texas and spent 12 years in the Army, and my last 2 was at Fort Hood. And then our lead guitar player was from Florida and spent all 4 years in the Army at Fort Hood.
Oh, nice. But it's been a blast chatting with you. If anybody wants to check out your stuff or listen to your music, where can they find you online?
Facebook and Instagram under Jason Custer, and then on Spotify, the Jason Custer Band, and our YouTube channel, still the Jason Custer Band.
Awesome. Well, once again, appreciate you so much. Before we wrap this up, though, what's a piece of advice you have for the young musicians out there?
Don't give up.
100%.
That's probably the most used one, but don't give up, because if you give up, then you'll never do it.
100% agree. Well, Jason, thank you so much for jumping on here. Really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you all later.